NSA Thrive. Hey, I'm honored, all right, to have with me today speaking and working and developing this communication, all right,
Mhm,
Caitlin Gardner. And Caitlin, our conversations led us to what you do, all
mhm.
right, working with corporate America as an entrepreneur,
Yes.
working with the entrepreneurs themselves on this whole idea of communication.
Mhm,
Guess what? This is why we're here,
mhm.
okay, from the communication standpoint. You've seen a lot of different areas and opportunity of self to work. You've been in that structure
Mhm.
from the corporate America. And I'm going to say, I'm going to really reach out and say communication is probably one of the toughest issues between areas and people and product and services and things of this nature. Tell me a little bit about what you do from the communication staff.
So I help executives and leaders show up with calm confidence. So their communications
Calm,
message,
calm. Let's
yes,
leaders and communicate.
calm
Calm
confidence.
confidence. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm really passionate about because I've been in tough boardrooms or I've been in difficult
Mhm.
situations where communications needs to be really excellent.
Good.
And when you're transparent and clear and you can bring clarity to the situation, it really helps. But I've also found that leaders who exude calm confidence are really the strongest leaders because when the stakes are high and you can't choose when the stakes are high, you
Exactly.
have to show up as a good communicator and you can show up as the best communicator you can. So that's what I help leaders do.
I like that from a leader standpoint. Leadership is a whole different area of
Mhm.
expertise. All right. Some folks have it. Some folks were bred into it. Some
Mhm.
folks themselves were granted access, all right,
Sure.
without the skills, knowledge, tools, techniques, and resources, which really kind of just negates some of those leadership skills that they need to breed in with them. But I'm thinking of self from a communication, calm communication.
Yes.
That's a whole different mentality for people themselves to realize, oh, you mean I got to be calm? I can't yell. All right. I can't just boss people around and things. It's not, that's not about leadership.
Well, I started my career about 20 years ago, and media relations and public relations was my
Good.
specialty.
Superb.
So, because
So
of
you're in the
that,
right business right now.
so I knew when the cameras were rolling,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, people had maybe a different demeanor. But now
Mm,
with social media and the way how interactive we are and everything being recorded, it's actually that we always need to think the cameras are on, that
sure.
any internal memo or any internal communication behavior, the way you show up for executives at a town
Mm,
hall or the way you treat your peers and how leaders show up trickles down to the rest of the team.
sure.
So as you show up internally as a communicator and have personal branding that follows your reputation and your career, eventually you might be in a leadership role where you have also external communications opportunities,
Yeah.
like you just described,
Yeah. Sure.
either being in the C suite or being in a media relations or a public speaking opportunity. So, all of those moments, you need to be prepared, you need to be clear. And
Mm.
that's some of the things that we talk about during my presentation.
I think leaders themselves need a whole level of creativity nowadays. You're dealing
Mm,
with generations, you're dealing with different thought patterns, you're dealing with different types of people and mentalities,
hmm
okay, and different ways they communicate, all
hmm
right, word to word, mouth to mouth itself, instead of text to mouth or text to
Sure.
text, whatever the case would be. Communication has become a very, very big topic out there. I think leaders themselves that can communicate a clear and
Mm-hmm.
concise message are going to be more effective in what they're doing. And then you got that principle themselves that lead, follow, get out of my way.
So I heard you say clear and concise, and
Yeah,
I'll introduce another C, which is consistent.
good.
I
Love it.
think you need to consistently show up because you need to earn credibility and trust
Good.
before the stakes are high.
Sure.
So that way, when something happens, which inevitably it does, this could be in the form of a media moment, it could be a crisis, it could
All
be a
right.
scandal. You need to have built up your reputation bank
Good.
account
Love it.
so that way you can take a withdraw.
Right.
So that is something that we do, even internally. How do you build teams that rely on those things? So being consistent in your communication is another opportunity that we really just think through
Sure.
and be
Love that.
intentional
I
about
like
it.
that.
And the top CEOs are very well rehearsed, just like
Hmm.
we are as professional speakers. You
Right.
rehearse over and over. You know consistently
Mhm.
and concisely what your
Yeah.
messages are.
I think it's important itself for those individuals themselves that you have leaders that could be born,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but they're still lacking some skills and resources themselves they still need to pick up on. The type of individuals and leaders that you work with,
Mm-hmm.
okay, are they corporate? Are they more entrepreneurial?
Mm-hmm.
Are they individuals themselves that have been in certain positions for a period of time? Are you enhancing? I'm throwing all these
Yeah.
things out, because there is a lot of traits that leaders need to have and
Mm-hmm.
manifest these days.
Yeah.
And without those themselves could be a detriment. All
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Could be
I
a problem.
I help in three ways. So as a keynote presenter,
Right.
I speak to associations and groups who have and draw in leaders who are growth
All
minded.
right, good.
The second thing I do is I do workshops. So I would actually come in, go deep dive with a team and do an offsite or retreat, facilitate something where we would actually work through a framework to figure out what are your communications goals, challenges. Is it
Mhm.
more of an internal challenge, maybe almost a talent retention
Sure.
opportunity, a culture building exercise?
Right.
Or is it something that, no, we have a media moment or a big campaign launch? So it runs the gamut, but it's always the same principles of effective and clear communication. And we
Yeah.
would
Right.
measure the goals for that. And then the last thing I do is I have a PR consultancy called Blooming Communications,
Okay,
and we
good.
help companies grow.
Good.
And that's where I'm the chief gardener.
So we were trying to figure out where all that gardening came in from.
Yes. So
Uh,
that was here first. And then public speaking was something that naturally I was drawn to, and I've gotten on bigger stages. And
sure.
I also mentor and teach a lot of entrepreneurs. So
Good.
startups, small business owners, and incubators. I
Mm,
support them too in the startup phase. They're not necessarily my target client, but I have a deep passion for helping entrepreneurs
good.
because I am an entrepreneur. So I know
Good.
the struggles, the modern day challenges of how to have a personal brand, how to deliver on time, how to organize yourself.
Right. Exactly.
So I am a professor at the University of Florida, and I help with their incubator startup to help them get to the
Excellent.
next level.
Excellent. Because those folks themselves that are coming in may not have all those tools.
Well, specifically, the best tip I give to start entrepreneurs and startups is make sure you document your story because you
Mm,
won't be able to look back until you get where you're going
yeah.
to
Right.
see how it goes together. But make sure when you get that first, clinical trial result or the first experience or the first client signing, even if it was a free moment or you had a
Yeah,
barter for something,
that's
like
right. Yeah.
document that because that becomes part of your narrative. That in a few years, when you're ready for a PR professional, they're like, "Thank goodness you
Exactly.
have the receipts."
The receipts
To
over. Yeah.
show the effort because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, tell their story a little too late. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, no, I've been building this for a while. People thought maybe my company was built overnight. And it's like, no, it took 20
No.
years
Exactly.
to be
Yeah.
able to start so quickly.
Sure. Sure. And there are individuals themselves, entrepreneurs. They don't bring a lot of baggage in with them.
Hmm.
Okay. And sometimes they do. You do have your corporate folks.
Hmm.
All right. I think, of course, I've done it and this is the way I do it. And this is the
Hmm.
way I've always been doing it. So they're going to be a little hard to adjust. All righty. What do you find the gratification is working with the entrepreneurs or working with the corporate folk?
I can work with a variety of audiences.
Good.
I find that people who have a growth mindset, no matter where they are the
Good.
people who would respond best to me. There's always going to be people who are not so creative or innovative in change, but
Hmm.
people who are interested in what's ahead and to set goals that get them where they're going are drawn to work with me.
I
I
like
work
that.
with great Fortune 500 leaders who have the desire to be effective communicators,
Good.
people who value humanity and people first cultures and people centric best companies to work for, they
Mm,
would be most aligned to
good.
where I'm headed. And as I start my own company, I'm very intentional about making sure that leaders show up intentionally. And that's why we have to be
Exactly. Yeah.
consistent
Sure.
with our
I
communications.
like that without a doubt, 100%.
Hmm.
The it, we There's very few individuals that are able to bring keynote
Hmm.
and to bring breakout and
Hmm.
trainings and additional
Hmm.
and consulting.
Hmm.
Okay, from that fact, and it sounds like you bring that whole level of opportunity
I hope
into
so.
those individuals. Yes, you do. All right,
Hmm.
but for the fact itself is that individuals most likely will probably hear your keynote and turn around and say, "Boy, I'd like this individual to work
Yes.
with my team," and then from the team itself and a breakout.
Yeah.
And then we're using like all sorts of communications and
Hmm.
technical abilities themselves to reach out to individuals and
Yeah.
people. Sometimes you got problem children, and
Yeah.
sometimes there are individuals themselves that really don't want to follow the rules,
Mhm.
regulations, policies, and procedures. But I'm thinking out there itself, you bring in a very unique perspective
Mhm.
already, and that perspective really now starts to take hold and starts to rebuild, or let's just say re-identify
Mhm.
dynamics. All right. And individuals themselves. I think it's extremely important for people themselves knowing that you have that type of skill,
Yes.
that you've come from the corporate world. Okay. And then you're down all the way down to those individuals and inspiring entrepreneurs.
Yes, and that's why I think I get hired and asked back because I can handle the stress of a corporate Fortune 500 executive leadership team and the
Right.
high stakes moments that they're facing. But I can also relate to the entrepreneur who's wearing a lot of hats, who's maybe at $1 million, wanting to grow, has a growth mindset. Maybe their growth could look like what's their exit, and they need to make sure that they want the highest value for that. And that's part of selling a brand and
Good.
selling a business. And there's a lot of equity that they can can build in there.
Well, sweat equity. You got
Yes,
it.
and it's true. So I meet my clients where they are,
Yeah,
and that's why we I have a deep relationship with
sure.
them because and they continue to ask me back for more work. So that's why
Got it.
I am able to offer those different things. So if it's a media training one off, or if it's a crisis that they didn't see coming, that's maybe how we started our
Good.
engagement.
I like
But then we say, well, what other areas can we support, and
Sure.
how can I come do my workshop, and maybe next year we'll check in again because there's a lot of
Yeah.
turnover on
Yeah.
teams.
There is.
There's maybe talent acquisition and culture building
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
a lot of teams are feeling the pinch right now with either reduction in force or finding talent to linger, legacy
And
teams.
AI.
And AI, I think embrace it. Yes, let's think about how we can do it. Let's fail forward quickly
Engage
with
it.
it
Right.
because that is going to be here. So how do we work with it with human
Right.
in the loop,
Sure.
right? So we always want to make sure that the human is part of it, right? So as a communicator at first, many quarters ago, I was afraid of AI and didn't want to try it, or that wasn't authentic.
Right.
As a journalist, I'm a broadcast journalist.
I need
Now,
real words.
now I'm like, actually, it could be faster. It understands my voice.
Yeah.
What I fed it was able to respond and ask me more thoughtful questions to get me thinking differently.
Good.
So I think as business leaders, it's up to us to embrace it
Yeah.
and to use it to our advantage.
That's super. That's super. Caitlin, how do people reach you? What's the best way for people to reach you?
So CaitlinGardnerSpeaks.com is my
Okay.
website, and then Blooming Communications is my PR agency. And I'm very active on LinkedIn and would love to hear from your listeners.
Good deal. Love it. Caitlin, I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
I'm
All
glad
right.
to be
I
here.
had a
Thank
fun
you.
time. Thank you very
Yes, me
much. I
too.
appreciate it. And for those individuals at the GMS Theater itself, at NSA Thrive, we want to thank you. Caitlin, thank you very much for attending and with us this morning. And then we'll catch up to you guys real soon. Thank you. Have a great day.